coming together! Got it! Hyoko's body was hidden before we found it.
But it would have taken quite a long time to tape up a hidden body.
No, the body was already taped up and the killer hid it, along with the pillar using the wallpaper.
What? They hid the pillar?
Yeah, by wrapping the wallpaper around the pillar, the killer was able to create a slightly larger pillar. So when I first discovered Ibuki's body, Hyoko's body was already there. However, because it was concealed within a slightly larger pillar, I didn't realize that at the time.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, it makes sense that you'd notice Ibuki's body right away.
So they used the baton lighting on the ceiling to hang the wallpaper?
The baton lighting forms a perfect circle around the pillar, so using it to hang the wallpaper totally fits.
Then, the reason the wallpaper was covered in so many stickers was to make it look like that pillar.
That's how they hid Hyoko's body, and then peeled off the wallpaper as soon as I left the music room.
But the killer made a mistake. They accidentally ripped off a piece of the wallpaper. And because of that, a scrap was left on the baton lighting.
Killer must have been in a hurry. Their plan took too long. Hajime could have walked in on them.
But going to the trouble of hiding the body and the pillar is very bold and risky.
But the crime itself would be much easier to pull off, since they don't have much to do while Hajime's gone. They just have to peel off that wallpaper and stash it in the storage room. It's not that big of a deal.
Then, when was Hyoko actually killed?
Good point. And on that note, it's about time we shed some light on those imitation murders.
You mentioned imitation murder more than once. But what is that?
Are you kidding me? You haven't seen my masterpiece? The Wizard of Monami 2.5D?
Hey! Don't put my likeness in your movies without my permission!
You're pretty noisy for someone who eats mothballs.
I don't eat mothballs. I just enjoy looking at them. I knew it! There are so many similarities. It must have been intentional.
Ibuki's death by hanging matches the Scarecrow's death from the movie. Not just that, but Hyoko getting taped up after her death matches the lion's death.
It's as if both crimes were replicas of scenes from the movie, although the mutilated Tin Man was omitted.
But why did the killer go to all this trouble in the first place?
Based on what we know, the reason the killer chose these imitations isn't that difficult to figure out.
I see! The reason the killer imitated two of the murders from the movie was so he'd mix up the killing order.
Then, Hyoko was actually killed before Ibuki?
A valid line of reasoning.
Yeah, it's valid. The condition of Ibuki's body suggests that as well.
If you're going to cry and beg like that, then I guess I'll hear about the condition of Ibuki's body.
I'm not even crying.
I'll let you sob as much as you want later. Just hurry up and tell me before I change my mind.
What a jerk!
Oh, I see. You want me to explain it to you, right? Because you don't understand what I'm saying, right?
An even bigger jerk? Impossible!
Look, Ibuki died because she hanged herself, right? That means when she was still alive, her feet were touching the floor.
What's wrong with that?
But it seems Ibuki was still standing when Hiyoko was killed. That would mean Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki.
How light. Your words are so light as the sylph's feather. Your opponent is out of your league. It is too absurd to try to perplex me so inadequately.
Man, he's being annoying again.
First and foremost, you claim Ibuki's feet were touching the floor when Hiyoko was killed. How can a low-class creature with no psychic abilities like you know something like that?
Because she was doing something that's only possible if her feet were on the floor.
It seems you suffer from a pathetic delusion.
You're one to talk.
When Hiyoko died, Ibuki's feet were on the floor.
I am telling you to present your evidence.
Did you see her walking?
If her feet were on the floor, was there any sign she stepped on something? Were there even any footprints at the crime scene?
Maybe her feet were on the floor. But she was like sitting or something. So instead, there'd be a mark on her ass.
Weak, I say! It doesn't even pierce my heart!
When Hiyoko got Ibuki's feet,
I am telling you to
Did you see her walking?
if her feet were on the floor, was there any sign she stepped on something?
I agree with that. Just as Sonia said, Ibuki stepped on something. That something was blood. There were faint bloodstains on the soles of her slippers.
That is not Ibuki's blood, right? She suffered no external injuries. Then it's Hiyoko's blood!
Hyoko's only wound was a fatal slice on her neck. And she died almost instantly, right?
If Ibuki stepped on her blood...
It means Ibuki was still standing when Hiyoko was mortally wounded. Which means Ibuki was still alive at the exact moment Hiyoko was killed.
Don't underestimate the power of the evil eye! Is that it? A shepherd dressed in his Sunday's finest still reeks of lamb, Hajime Hinata.
Does that mean you have a rebuttal?
Does that mean you have a rebuttal? That's a good line. But are you sure you're sure? If I show you how serious I am, this world might be destroyed, you know. You're so frightened you can't even make a sound. It seems you've realized our difference in status. However, the time for conviction starts now. You better entertain me to the fullest. You're saying the blood on Ibuki's... Ah! Impossible! Try to remember the crime. There was... You can't step on blood that was never... Just about what? See a nice nightmare? You're saying the blood on Ibuki... Ah! Impossible! Try to remember the crime. There was... You can't step on blood that was... Just... See a nice nightmare? You're saying the blood on Ibuki's feet belonged to Hiyoko? Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor.
Allow me to cut through those words! That's not it. The reason there was no blood on the floor is because the killer wiped it away afterward.
Don't say such foolish things! You don't have proof of that at all!
Yes, I do. You look closely. There's a streak on the floor where blood was wiped away.
When the killer tried to hide Hyoko's body, they probably cleaned the blood at the same time, but Ibuki must have already stepped in it, and the killer probably didn't even realize it.
The reason they wiped off the blood on the floor was so we'd mix up the order of the murders, right? Even if they're able to hide Hyoko's body, it'd be bad if her blood was left out in the open.
Plus, Ibuki's body was left out in the open, and it wasn't bleeding from any open wounds at all.
Hyoko's body was probably wrapped in duct tape to stop her bleeding. Actually, the bleeding will stop once the heart stops beating, so I don't think they had to go that far.
Aside from Mikon, none of us were aware of that fact, so the killer probably did not know it either.
Maybe the heater was running inside the music venue so it would screw with Mikon's autopsy?
That's right! I didn't know the time of death because of the heater!
The time of death wasn't mentioned in the Monokuma file just to keep concrete evidence from us.
Yup. Since we have all this evidence, there's no one else who wants to object, right? Then it's decided. Hyoko was killed before Ibuki.
It appears that it is wiser to retreat for now. Fine then. But regardless of good or evil, there's no deceit in upholding one's convictions.
Can't you just shut up and back off?
Now then, let us resume our debate.
Wait a sec. There's something I want to run by Monokuma first.
Huh? Again? Didn't something like this happen last time, too?
Hey, if the victim actually committed suicide, what are we supposed to do?
The same as always. You have to vote for who the killer is. Think about it. A suicide means you've killed the most important existence of all, yourself. Unfortunately, that means there's no Blacken to punish, but I guess in a pinch, I can always punish Monami.
Why me?
Nagito? What do you mean? If the victim actually committed suicide?
Well, I understand Hyoko's death, but I'm wondering if Ibuki was really murdered. For example, it's possible Ibuki killed Hyoko, and then committed suicide due to a guilty conscience, right?
That's totally impossible! Then she never would have killed her to begin with!
She was afflicted by the despair disease, remember? That means anything can happen.
But if Ibuki's the killer, she wouldn't have been able to falsify the sequence of the murders, right? After Hajime saw the hanged body, the sudden appearance of Hyoko's body soon after means the killer had to be alive at that time.
Then she was alive! When Hajime first discovered Ibuki, she was just pretending to be dead. If she waited until Hajime left, that's when she could have made her move and mess with the crime scene.
She hanged herself! Remember? There's no fucking way she could have faked that!
And if she was going to fake her death, I think she wouldn't have chosen hanging. Her body would have been defenseless in that state. If anyone touched her, that alone would have ruined her plan.
I see. So that means there's no doubt that someone killed those two. I'm glad. Now I'm free to search for the killer.
What the heck?
There's still one more issue on my mind. If Ibuki didn't commit suicide, then just what was that video Hajime saw? According to that video you saw, Ibuki was by herself when she climbed the stepladder, right? Then does that mean someone forced her to do it?
Forced? Perhaps they used hypnotism or something?
I don't know anything about that.
Don't say it all proud.
Putting that aside, it seems obvious that the killer did something. So, maybe we should figure out who was able to do whatever that was.
So, an alibi. Then our plan is to destroy the weakest alibi. Since Hajime has seen the video, it is clear what time the crime took place.
But just to be sure, that surveillance camera doesn't have a record function, right?
It's a cheap-ass surveillance camera, you know? There's no way it'd have some kind of sweet recording feature.
Then, the video Hajime saw was actually live?
What time did Hajime see that video?
I saw it at the hospital, right before Monokuma's morning announcement, and I saw the body at the music venue a little after Monokuma's announcement.
So Ibuki hanged herself right before Monokuma's announcement. And since we established that Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki, that means the time that the murders occurred was before and during the announcement.
Then we just have to find the person who doesn't have an alibi during that time?
Now then, I shall issue my decree. Let Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi commence.
We can exclude the sick people like me and Akane, right?
And what about the others?
Right before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was doing that.
So everyone who stayed at the motel doesn't have an alibi. What about you guys? I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has failed!
We can exclude the sick.
And what about the...
Right before them, I was totally sleeping.
I think everyone...
So everyone is... What about you guys? I was where I was supposed...
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi...
No, that's wrong! Hold on. Not all of us are missing an alibi. In fact, Mikan and I both have alibis.
You two have alibis?
Up until I saw that hanging video, Mikan and I were actually together for a while.
We even woke up together that morning.
Hey, what kind of situation is that?
I accidentally fell asleep on top of Hajime.
Too much info.
Yeah, it's not like that. She just came to tell me Nagato's condition had improved.
And we went to the hospital together afterward. So we were together until right before the announcement.
I get it. You guys have alibis.
If that's the case, the killer must be someone else.
It's better if we think about it like that. The killer decided to falsify the murder sequence to hide the actual time of the crime anyway.
So it's inevitable that an alibi for both before and during the morning announcement would be very important.
It feels like Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has backed us into a corner instead.
But committing an imitation murder, is that really all it was? Faking the time the crime occurred by falsifying the murder sequence, hiding their alibi in the process? Was that the only reason the killer made both bodies imitate the movie? Are you saying there was another reason? I feel really bad for confusing you guys so much, but that's how I feel. I think the killer had a completely different reason for falsifying the murder sequence.
Hiya!
Stop it!
What a disappointment!
I'm Monami. Once again, I've been put in such an unreasonable situation. Seriously, he's like the king of unreasonableness. Why did it turn out like this? We were supposed to have a fun, friendly school trip, but it turned out all bloody instead. No! This definitely cannot be allowed. That's why I want you to remember this. Everyone, do your very best. Don't lose to yourself. And don't forget to save frequently.
Huh. It suddenly got quiet in here. Did I confuse you? If so, I wish I could die from self-loathing.
Man, this again.
If that's the case, it would have been just dandy if they had gone ahead and killed me too. If that happened, the imitation would have been perfect. So why didn't they do that?
Well, it's against the rules to kill 3 people in the first place.
That rule is too harsh. I couldn't get killed because of that.
Seriously, just shut up already! Shut up forever!
But I'm thinking about it again, and he's totally right. It feels incomplete.
Because they didn't kill 3 people like the movie did? That's only because of Monokuma's rule.
It's not just that. Come on, try to remember the content of the movie. About the lion that got killed second.
That's the one Hyoko's body was imitating, right?
Even though we're calling it an imitation, the lion was actually pinned by arrows, right? But Hyoko's body was suspended by common household duct tape.
Maybe they just used a common substitute because it was too difficult to imitate the arrows.
Well, that's probably it, but that attitude is what makes this feel incomplete. If falsifying the murder sequence was the killer's plan from the very beginning, they should have taken steps to properly imitate it.
But if we never realized it was a half-assed imitation, their entire plan would have been completely useless.
What are you trying to say? Are you saying the imitation wasn't planned?
I'm saying, Hyoko's murder wasn't.
What?
I understand that imitation wasn't enough, but aren't you making a bunch of assumptions?
It's not just the poor imitation. There are also other strange details.
Strange details? Like what?
Like, for example, why did Hyoko go to the music venue?
So, you're saying the truth behind Hyoko's murder is hidden?
I have no freaking clue what you're trying to say!
However, this is getting quite interesting. My 4 dark devas of destruction are getting riled up.
Why did Hyoko go to the music venue? There's no way we'd know that!
Maybe the killer summoned her.
If that's not it, maybe she got abducted by the killer.
No, maybe. She went of her own free will.
I agree with that. It's just as Sonia said. She went to the music venue of her own free will.
So, exactly as I assumed.
If no one called for her, then why did she go?
Hyoko locked herself in her room because she was being overly cautious of the despair disease, you know? I don't think a person like that would leave their room just because someone called for them.
There's no way she got abducted?
Hyoko locked the room she was staying in before she went out.
If she was forcibly taken from her room, there's no way she would have had time to lock it.
The killer could have locked her door, right? Just to hide the fact Hyoko got abducted.
Then they couldn't have hidden her room key that deep in her kimono. They would have put it somewhere more obvious. Otherwise, there's no point in messing with the crime scene if nobody finds the key. At the time, you were the one who actually took out the key, right? Then something like that.
I won't move! Are you saying my gut was wrong? This will be my first and last highlight of the day. Why won't you just let me shine already?
No! That's not the issue.
Shut up! Enough with your fancy talk. I'll shut you up right now. Hiyoko was locked inside her room, right? She definitely got abducted. The killer forced their way into Hiyoko's room, forcibly abducted her. The girl is so small and weak-looking, and that's why the killer targeted her. Hiyoko was locked inside her room. She definitely got abducted or something. The killer forced their way into Hiyoko's room, forcibly abducted her. The girl is so small and weak-looking, and that's why the killer targeted her.
I can't back down!
Hiyoko was locked inside her room, right? She definitely got the killer forced their way into Hiyoko's room, forcibly abducted her. The girl is so small and weak, and that's why the killer targeted her.
I can't back down! But Hiyoko's room was locked. The key was deep inside her kimono, remember? It's more likely that Hiyoko locked the door herself.
The killer was the one who locked the door. So what if the key was in her kimono? Maybe the killer just put it there later.
There's no reason for the killer to put the key in Hiyoko's kimono. The killer probably didn't realize she even had the key.
Hold on! Try remembering her kimono! There's only one reason her kimono would be that messed up. She fought the killer!
Allow me to cut through those words! The reason Hiyoko's kimono was messed up was because she wasn't able to properly wear it.
Wear her kimono?
Yeah, it's also the reason why she decided to go out on her own.
Hiyoko seemed to be really struggling with wearing her kimono. I believe that was one of the reasons she locked herself in her room.